more of a conversation than me just talking. I know that all of you know that the church says, don't have sex before you're married. I know you know that. You've probably heard it someplace else before. I also know that you know what's going on in the world and what's on TV and what the perception is of what teenagers are doing or not doing. What I'm hoping is that we can have a conversation so that you guys can understand what the church actually does teach about sexuality and relationships and marriage, so that you feel informed and empowered to make a good decision. You know, that you really get it. And if somebody asks you, you can stand firm and understand and be proud of the way that you're living your life. Okay? So is that fair? We can try to do that a little bit? Okay. So the last time we were together, we talked about the 10 Commandments, and I really want to hit the point that we're made in God's image and likeness, which means that we have dignity and worth, and that we each have a soul, right? So we're a body-soul composite, and we have to remember that when we're talking about the commandments we're going to talk about tonight. So in your small groups, the first thing I want you to talk about is, what is the 6th commandment, and what does it mean? The 6th commandment says, do not commit adultery. What does it say? Do not commit adultery. What does it mean? That's not nice. I pick on the person that's picking on somebody else. So don't do that. So don't pick on each other. This is good. I'm always getting picked on. I'm the one up here. I'm always getting picked on. Do not commit adultery. What does it mean? Go ahead, Patrick. Don't cheat on your significant other. Okay. And anyone else? Go ahead. Don't act like Hugh Hefner until you're married. That may or may not work. Okay. Continue. We're still speaking in code. What does do not commit adultery mean? What you're saying is a good start. Okay. We're getting there. I'm going to read something else to you, and then I want you to expand on your answers, okay? This is from the Gospel of Matthew. This is Jesus talking. This is what he says. You have heard that it was said, you shall not commit adultery. But I say to you that everyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in his heart. Talk to your small groups again. Give me another answer. Do not commit adultery. What does Jesus say that means? No dark purpling. Okay, we never explained what purple is to our freshmen. Purple is something we use in youth ministry. Girls are pink, boys are blue. No. I am red. No baby purple. Okay. You guys get the idea. Okay. So no dark purpling. Okay. So she's basically saying no sex. You're just saying no sex, Felicia? Okay, and that's all. You want to clarify that? Just no sex. Just no sex. Okay. That's sad. No sex ever, according to Felicia. Okay. Anything else? What does do not commit adultery mean? No more babies or anything. What does it mean? Not okay. So Jasmine's saying, do not commit adultery means do not lust after someone else. What does that mean to lust after someone? What? Think of them inappropriately. Okay. We're getting there. Nobody wants to say it. Okay. Alright. Is it okay? Yes or no? Is it okay for you to have sex with someone who is not your spouse? I'm asking this again, because I want to hear from everybody. Ready? Is it okay for you to have sex with someone who is not your spouse? Okay. Is it okay for you to have sexual acts, I'm not going to specify what those are, but you know what they are, with someone who is not your spouse? No. Is it okay for you to think about having sexual acts with someone that is not your spouse? Okay. Is it okay, in that context, if we all just said that, is it okay for you to have sex before marriage? Why? They're not your spouse. And the thing is you might be saying, well, I'm not married, and they're not married, but that's that's someone else's future spouse. They're not your spouse until that ring is on your finger. Right? You with me? Okay, I want to make sure you guys are getting this. So committing adultery, we're talking about people who are married, who are sleeping with other people's spouses. Not okay. People who are not married, sleeping with someone else's maybe future spouse. Not okay. And Jesus takes it a step further and says, it's not just what you do with your body, because what you do with your heart actually usually ends up being what you end up doing with your body. Okay? We talked about this actually a couple weeks ago. Your thoughts become your actions. And that's why certain things like pornography and masturbation and things like that can become so dangerous. It's because you think that it's just you and you think it's just in your head. And the next thing you know, you're acting out on them physically. Okay? That's why the church talks about it. What I really like in Catechism, when it talks about the sixth commandment, I was kind of impressed when I was reading the Catechism, which is basically the teaching for the church. That's what people like me go and read because we're geeky about the church. The church doesn't use no language. It's not telling us what not to do. There's nothing in it that says don't do this, don't do that. Instead it says embrace who you are as a man or woman and complement each other. That I as a woman am meant to complement men. And men are meant to complement me. That's the way God created us to be in this relationship. And when the church is talking about the sixth commandment, do not commit adultery, they use this phrase, apprenticeship and self-mastery. I really like that phrase, because it makes me feel like I'm in knight in shining armor, like becoming an apprentice. Like, it makes me think of like the sorcerers, like, what's that one? You pull out the sword and the stone, he's like the apprentice, and he's going to become king. Like, that's what it makes me think of. The church is saying that you as young people, because I want you to think about this. Some of you might be thinking, this commandment has nothing to do with me. I'm not married, so I can't commit adultery. Okay? The church is saying that you as a young person right now, you are practicing an apprenticeship in self-mastery, which means you're training your heart and your mind and your body to love. Okay? Many of you, well, some of you might know this about me, but I met Brian when I was 15. And we started dating when we were 16. And we dated through high school, college, and graduate school. And we decided, as soon as we started dating, we both said, we're not having sex till we get married. Period. And we're not doing a whole lot of things that lead up to sex. We're not doing it before we get married. That whole time while we were dating, we were making decisions about how we were going to treat each other, and how we were going to treat our bodies. That was an apprenticeship in self-mastery. I was learning to control my body and my passions and my emotions. He was learning how to control his passions and his feelings and his emotions. And we had to talk about it. Because if you didn't, you screwed up. And you hurt each other. Because we both had made this promise to each other that we didn't want to do that. That we loved each other too much to make those mistakes. And that apprenticeship, as we were dating, we kind of figured out things that worked for us. I remember in high school when we would call each other when we wanted to get together, we wouldn't see each other unless we had something to do. What are we going to do? Are we going to get together with friends? Are we going to go grocery shopping? Are we going to go to the movies? What are we going to do? Because if we didn't have something to do, we went downstairs and made out on the couch. And then ended up feeling really bad about ourselves later. Okay, so we learned, we had an apprenticeship, we said, that didn't work. We need to have something to do to keep ourselves out of trouble. When we were in college, he was going to come visit me, we went to different colleges. When he came, he stayed in my friend Nick Wilson's room. He never stayed in my room overnight, because I was placing us in a situation where we would be tempted. And it also kept up the perception that all my friends knew he wasn't in my room overnight. They knew he was with Nick. So I didn't have to worry about what people were going to say about me, because everybody could see it. That this was the relationship, this is the way we had chosen to treat each other and love each other.